I'd like to welcome everyone joining us this evening, which is a celebration, a generation in the making. In the Siddur, we find repeated references to generation to generation. Lidor vador nagid gadlecha. Dor lidor yishabach ma'asecha. Lidor vador nodelecha and saper tehilasecha. It's not enough to do the right thing, to be ethical, to be moral. One has to pass on those values, those ideals to the next generation. Tonight's celebration is a celebration of passing on a love of Torah, of Israel, of responsibility and commitment to the Jewish people to an entire generation, 25 years. It's a tremendous blessing and accomplishment. When REISHIT began in September of 1994 in Yerushalayim, the faculty was much closer in age to the students than to their parents. Now, the faculty is the parents of the students' age. Mr. Howard Ronson, the unforgettable chairman of the board of REISHIT, on one of his early trips, visiting Pesach time, noted, they say that the problem with our school is there's not enough gray hair. If Mr. Ronson were here today, I would say you have nothing to worry about anymore.
I'm up here.
The core staff is still youthful and passionate about what they do, but there's plenty of gray hair to go around. We look back in gratitude, humility, at the opportunity to educate a generation, inspire a generation to come to Israel, to study, to become better people, to grow. But tonight, we pay tribute to the ones responsible for launching REISHIT, for building it, for managing it, for seeing it to great success over its 25 years. Originally, the father and the mother of the yeshiva, now the grandfather, the grandmother, the Saba, the Savta of the yeshiva, my parents, Rabbi and Mrs. J. Marcus. First, I'd like to acknowledge the importance of the inspired leadership of the chairpersons of our annual dinner, Mr. and Mrs. Mati Vague. Hashem should send Mati a refuah shalema. They're not joining us tonight. And of course, to Mitchell and Susan Markowitz, who ably lead the dinner, launch the golf outing, and they're really deeply dedicated to our yeshiva. It's really a big bracha for us to have the Markowitzes involved, and it's my great honor to introduce Mitchell to say a few words.
I promise you, if you come to the golf outing, we serve alcohol. Thank you. Good evening, and welcome to the 25th anniversary dinner of REISHIT, honoring Rob J. and Barbara Marcus. Welcome to their children, grandchildren, rabbis, family, friends, and of course, our alumni. I also would like to welcome at this time the mayor of Beit Shemesh, Dr. Eliza Blach. Glad she's here with us. I am proud to be the dinner chairman for tonight's event, but I also want to thank, a special thank you, who came out of retirement, Rashi, who joined us here tonight. When I received a call several months ago informing me that the yeshiva was going to pay tribute to its founder and commander-in-chief, I thought to myself, wow, this is awesome. I will have the privilege to publicly express tribute and gratitude to my Rav and First Lady. OMG! Addressing Rav J? It's not even on my bucket list. What will I say? What happens if he doesn't like it? Well, here it goes. You don't have to worry, Rabbi. I met Rav J and Barbara back in 1983 when Susan and I moved to Staten Island with our one-year-old son, Andrew. Rabbi Andrew now. Just about the same time, I went into business, and needless to say, I needed jobs. My very first job was installing a bathroom in a basement at a house on 29 Dewhurst Street. Yes, Rob J gave me my first job. That was the beginning of our 36-year relationship. In 1995, I made my very first trip to Israel. I was very fortunate at that time that the rabbi was there. We met one night in Yerushalayim. He drove us around the city, and he even had time to stop for pizza. The next day, he picked us up, and he took us to a small city that very few people heard about, Beit Shemesh. Our first stop was to the mayor's office. And then he showed us the future site of his dream. To some, it was a plot of land, trees, grass, and a great view. Reb J, however, could see and envision the entire yeshiva before one brick was laid. Tonight, we pay tribute to two people that instilled Torah, learning in thousands of young men, and have an indelible impact on Klal Yisrael and really the entire world. Barbara was Barbara. Barbara, firsthand, I can say that my boys, my son-in-law, nephews, and many others had first-class, top-notch meals in your home with an open heart and warmth as if they were in their own mom's home. Boys, you can clap for that. The first Mishnah in Pirkei Avos states, "V'hemidu talmidim harveh," which literally means that we should try to amass as many students as possible. Rav J, one can say all through your years, you have definitely fulfilled these words. The Kasav Sofer shares a deeper understanding to these words. V'hemidu comes from the Shoresh Amad, to stand. The role of a Rav is to lift up anyone he encounters, to accentuate, to highlight, and bring out the greatness and positive traits of each and every one of them. Rav J and Barbara, this is something that you embody every day of your lives. You only see the greatness and potential in everyone. It is through this trait that makes REISHIT a unique and special yeshiva. Your family and Rabbeim have followed your legacy of V'hemidu Talmidim Harbeh, by instilling Ahavas Torah and Ahavas Yisrael in all they encounter. Rav Jay and Barbara, our relationship has gone above rabbi to congregant. I'm honored to be here this evening celebrating this milestone with you and your family. May Hashem grant both of you many more years of good health and nachas from your children, grandchildren, and of course, Talmidim. Thank you.
With a couple of thousand amazing alumni in 25 years, who's supposed to represent the most important part of the yeshiva, the student body, the alumni, at the 25th anniversary celebration? There are members who were the guinea pigs, members of the yeshiva who came to yeshiva where the main rabbeim were 25 years old and 23 years old, followed us into the desert, and are joining us here tonight. There are Talmidim from the beginning of our journey to Beit Shemesh, from the midway point. But the speaker tonight was a leader to his peers in yeshiva, and now is a leader of men. Rabbi Jonathan Morgenstern has been super helpful and impactful since his years in yeshiva, 1995, 96, 96, 97. Rabbi Morgenstern is now the rabbi of the Young Israel of Scarsdale, a teacher of Torah to his congregants, a teacher of Torah in high school, somebody who really spreads the warmth, the dynamism of Torah. I'd like to acknowledge the entrance of the mayor of Beit Shemesh, Dr. Eliza Bluff, who's joining us here especially this evening. But most importantly, Rabbi Morgenstern, aside from being an alumnus, aside from being a rabbi and a teacher, is the first REISHIT alumnus who is also a REISHIT parent. His son Simon started in yeshiva this year, and hopefully the Morgensterns will be the first of many second generation REISHIT students. It's my honor and privilege to call Rabbi Jonathan Morgenstern Shlita.
So I don't think I've ever been called Shlita, so thank you, Rav Ari. This is perhaps one of the most humbling experiences of my life. When I say I'm not worthy, I'm really not worthy. There are such incredible people that have gone through the doors, the threshold of REISHIT, starting in the Old City, in the Sephardic Center. It should live and be well. Just don't live there. And people, mechanchim, leaders, rabbis, teachers from across the globe who are beneficiaries of the incredible Torah that we've been exposed to at REISHIT Yerushalayim. And I have to say, the experience of coming full circle for so many of us who were there in the early years, it's really hard to describe. And I wasn't going to say this, but Rav Ari mentioned the Shalshelas Hadoros of having my son in REISHIT this year, he basically didn't have a choice. Rav Eli, from the moment he was born, said he's going to be REISHIT. And Baruch Hashem. We were at the Kotel a few months ago, and Simon was leading Kabbalah Shabbos at the Kotel. It was beautiful, with dancing, a Karbach Kabbalah Shabbos, and a few hundred people got involved. And my friend Rabbi Adam Englander, who's a Chavrusa, who's from year one of REISHIT, was standing there, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we looked at my son, and it was as if it was 20 some odd years ago, and that was us. That's what REISHIT Yerushalayim means, the genesis of so many people. So my divrei bracha to Rav J. and Barbara Marcus on this incredible milestone, this incredible occasion, are divrei bracha that we see in a Gemara in Tanis that many of us know. Two Rabbanim are about to say goodbye to each other, Rav Nachman and Rav Yitzchak. They're hanging out, they're talking in Torah. Please give me a bracha. Rav Nachman said to Rav Yitzchak, give me a bracha. And what did he say? As we all know, it's like a person who was walking in the wilderness, in the desert, and he was hungry and thirsty, and he found a tree, Sheperosav Mitzukin, whose the fruit were very sweet, V'tzilo Noah, and its shade was very pleasant. And there was a stream of water that was going right through. It was perfect, an oasis. He ate, he drank, and he sat down. And then when it came time for him to take leave, he said, Ilan, Ilan, bama varechacha, how can I bless you? Sheyehu perosecha mesukin, arev perosecha mesukin. Your fruits are sweet, amazing. What bracha do you have? Sheyeh tzilcha noah, that the shade will be pleasant, will be appreciated. Harei tzilcha noah. Shtei amas hamayim overes tachtecha, that you have an amas hamayim that goes underneath you. Harei amas hamayim overes tachtecha. The water's flowing. Elo yehi ratzon shekol netios shenoti mimcha yiyu kemotcha. Beautiful song, beautiful Gemara. Now, I always thought that the Gemara meant that your children should be like you. That's the best bracha I could give you. Shekol netiosecha, shekol netio shenoti mimcha yiyu kemoscha. But if you think about it, it's actually not the case. What are our children, our progeny, compared to? Peros. Shei perosecha mesukin, that your children are sweet, wonderful. Your children should be sweet. Shei tzilcha noah, that you should have an impact on all those around you, that you should bring comfort and support and love to the people you come in contact with. Amazing. You have that too, he said to his friend. Shtei amas hamayim overes tachtecha, that your water, that you have a legacy, that you live a life that you know will extend through all of the kindness, all the chesed that you've done, all the amazing accomplishments that you've had. You have a legacy. So what does it mean? Kol netios shenoti mimcha yiyu kemotcha. What does that mean? And I think that when we think about Rabbi J. and Barbara Marcus, we could understand what that in fact means. Because for 30 years, in the young Israel of Staten Island, they created a community, they built a family, they built up institutions where they had tremendous impact, they had children, they had a legacy. And if you think about it, do the math a little bit, around 25 years into that legacy, that any rabbi, I'm a rabbi, right? Any rabbi would say, showing, I did good. I could sit on my laurels. Here I am. I got payros, sale, impact, and an Amas Hamayim and a legacy. But about 25 years into that, they realized through an incredible vision that we need more than that. But not we need more. That Klal Yisrael needs more than that, because we truly have payros that are masukin, we have sweet fruit. And there's a legacy that we need to transfer onto others. So what are the Netios? The Netios are creating generations of others, of other Netios of Torah. Yeah, we build one community. We want to build hundreds. We want to build thousands. And you do that by training young men, B'darchei HaTorah. Because we want people that are going to be exemplars of the unique hashkafa, the Torah values that we represent. Said somewhere at some point, Rabbi Jay and Barbara Marcus, because we stand for those values and we live for those values. And in a polarized world, and it was polarized then, and it's 100 times more polarized, where it's about right and left, and yeshivish and hasidish and modern and charedi and dati leumi and chardal and everyone else in between. The Judaism of the Marcuses, their Netiya and Klal Yisrael encompasses all of them. Where else can you find a yeshiva where they'll proudly say, we learn like the Litvish community. We daven, we take davening from the Hasidim. Religious Zionism from the Dati Leumi. Torah Umada as a serious hashkafa of living and learning. We learn from our world, from our Rebbeim, back here on these shores in America, living lives al Kiddush Hashem, like Rabbi Jay and Barbara have done. Thank God for all of these years. I found out just recently that Rabbi Marcus used to fly in once a week, while he's a pulpit rabbi, to give a shiur in Congress, to learn with congressional leaders of the United States every week. It's unheard of. Their goal is nothing short of creating souls that will create communities that will perpetuate Torah far and wide, of being ambassadors of a loving, warm, embracing Judaism throughout the world. There are hundreds and thousands of netiyot that have been planted, kemotchem, Rabbi Jay and Barbara Marcus. And our bracha to you is that this Torah, this hashkafa, this life, it continues in your children, in your grandchildren, and the thousands of others that you've impacted, and in the communities that have been elevated by the presence of the Shekhinah, which you brought into all of our midst. Mazel tov.
really thought you were going to sit up here. Many thoughts, words come to mind, and a little bit old and a little bit new. I'd like to put it into two words. The two words are thank you. Toda Rabah. It's amazing that the prayer that's said every day in the normal 3 services all end with the very same prayer. Not the Shema Yisrael, Hear, O Israel, not the Shmona Esrei, the prayer of all of our needs, but the Aleinu L'Shabeach. According to tradition, this was the prayer that Joshua composed when Israel, Jewish people, entered into the land of Israel. You can actually see that in Beit Shemesh, where our mayor presides, where Joshua fought the 7 kingdoms in order to attain the land of Israel. It wasn't handed up on a silver platter. There were 40 years that the Jewish people had to travel in the desert. When they finally came, how long did they have to fight? It was not simple. And that very, very battle in Beit Shemesh, where they found many relics from the time of Yehoshua ben Nun entering into Israel, and were now put on exhibit in the very fine museum of Bible Land's history, right next to the Jerusalem center of really museums. And there they find relics, coins, remnants, when the Jewish people were entering into the land of Israel. That was Joshua's experience taking over for Moses, and he composed on Leinu L'Shabeach, how we are able to admire, to thank the Almighty for that which He does for us every day. It's at the end of the Shachrit, the morning prayer, Aleinu L'Shabeach. It's at the end of the Mincha prayer, which is basically simply 3 pieces. And Ma'ariv, again, Aleinu L'Shabeach. To those who like prostrating themselves on the high holidays, on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, it's the Aleinu L'Shabeach that people are able to bend down, hopefully if they can themselves, bend themselves fully, and extend themselves, saying Aleinu L'Shabeach. Because there's so much that confronts us. And how do we react? I used to tell a story that is not exceedingly complimentary. It's about, you can pick the community, not Staten Island. Maybe 5 towns, Borough Park, Muncie. Mother is taking her child in on Friday to the fruit store. And they're going to buy food. This little precocious child starts to scream, "I want a banana! I want a banana!"
mother does what any very wise mother might do. She ditches him. And she goes to shop. The owner of the store says, uh-oh, got to do something about this. He grabs a banana, runs over to the child. The child looks it over, and the mother realizes, her role is to get there. She gets over there. She takes the banana from the owner and gives it to her son. And she says, now what 2 words are you going to say? The little kid grabs a banana, sticks it right in his mother's face, and says, peel it. I wish it wasn't true. We used to at times call young people, I used to call them originally, that they all had regular bronze credit cards. And a few years later, they were certainly silver credit cards. Then, from gold, and I don't know where they're up to now, but there's a certain sense of expecting, maybe even demanding. That's very, very dangerous. That's very, very difficult. Where do you draw the limits? Young people, children, have the opportunities that are unmatched. They hold in the palm of their hands far more information than ever existed. The debates that used to begin about what phones do you allow in, what phones don't you allow in, to putting up little baskets that if you came into class, you had to leave the phones in the basket. They have in their hands more information than one could ever possess in a lifetime. And I always wondered, once the battle of being impossible to stop it was over, what were they reading all the time? They should know everything. We have a class of Zionism, politics, and halacha every morning. And very educated, intelligent, bright young men come into the school after 12 years of education. They know maybe 1 or maybe 2 government officials in the state of Israel. And unfortunately, very often they know the different officials not for the right reasons. What are they listening to? What is there that they possess? Why has the brightest, smartest, most potential-full community in Jewish history have difficulty in finding itself, growing and learning? So those of you that have come through it know what I'm talking about. The challenge is making it very interesting, very important, and lasting value to what they can learn, what you can teach. And maybe rationalization, but I don't think is a more important responsibility that parents, our Jewish community has. I spent 30 very special years with Barbara at the Young Israel of Staten Island. We loved it. Because there's a principle, Ava makalkelet et hashura, v'sina makalkelet et hashura. When you're doing something that you love, then that gives you a whole different perspective. What are we doing for the brightest, the best youth that the Jewish community has ever had? That's our challenge. That's our responsibility. We excel in our professions, whatever we choose to spend our time. We can never forget that our first responsibility is really our children. And I wanted to just highlight so many of the different individuals that we've had the potential of learning from, trying to teach. And I decided that if I were going to list people that were here, we'd never be done. So just picking a few individuals who are not here, but whose families are. Mr. Howard Ronson's family, tragic. The idea of classes in Congress, classes in the workplace, and going around. Really a family of Bert and Ruth Zeises, individuals with Zocha, proved worthy of having a whole table of all of their children and what they represent. No price in the world you can put on that. And their love was the next generations, their children's. Al and Helen Mackler, remarkable individuals. They had a remarkable custom. Every one of their grandchildren, they would take to Israel. You think that's easy? You think teenagers and wanting to go and where they would want to go and what they would want to do and what would happen. Al was able to just do the books for major hospitals, major charitable organizations. Helen had to take them everywhere. Two of their children are here. When Harvey met with the Prime Minister of Israel, he shared the idea with him that the same way Benjamin Netanyahu had lost a brother, Mackler's had also lost a brother and lost a son. But their thoughts and their caring was beyond themselves. It was to the next generation, to what it might become, to what it might be. And Mr. Vardy Veg, very different backgrounds. He escaped the Holocaust on a boat being carried by his parents. And reached levels of accomplishment, always remembering who did not make it. We were fortunate to have his eldest grandson as a student, and as he's here this evening to report to his grandparents that somehow, even if they didn't make it, when you're doing something that's right and meaningful, it almost carries itself. We should have a clock here. I should at least have a watch with time. But you've made the most important challenge. Not necessarily Wall Street, not peace on earth, not the hatred and terrible, terrible discrimination that exists more and more. One of the great Jewish scholars always said that a Jew has two choices in life. Either to make kiddush, like you do Friday night, sanctifying the day, making it over wine, or making Havdalah, separating yourself from your people, as you do when the Sabbath ends and you go back to the real world. And he said, Jews, we're always going to be made Havdalah on. We're always going to be made separate. Just take a look. Everywhere, wherever it may be happening. And so we might as well, really such a wise people, make Kiddush. Sanctify our families, our lives, and take every challenge that we have. That's why Oleinu L'Shabeach has to end every prayer. You have to be able to appreciate what's happened, and most importantly, how we respond to that. That was Joshua's role. That's who entered into the land of Israel. And may we all be able to make Kiddush, not over the finest wines necessarily, or liquors. I'm a grape juice person, sorry. But simply of our families, our lives. As I was telling some of the students tonight, if you have a chance to learn with children, sons or daughters, or with grandchildren, we say in the Shema, Shinantam B'vanecha, speak to your children. Rabbi Soloveitchik always taught us that the challenge is not just to children, it's to span generations, to reach the next generation, to reach the grandchildren. That's what Tova Soloveitchik Lichtenstein was talking about. Real Bostonian. And that's the challenge that we have, that you, the best, the brightest, and really the future, can do for Am Yisrael, to the Jewish people, and the whole world. Thank you.
In deference to my parents' wishes really not to be honored, we're not presenting you with anything. And Ma, your main stipulation of being honored was to make sure that he doesn't stay home and he's back in the office. So next week it's on to the next generation, next 25 years, please God. We'll see you in the office. And now we'll see everybody out in the lobby for dessert. Thank you all for coming. Thank you so much.